I tend to be very conscientious when it comes to details, and I believe in understanding arguments. I don't believe in just. I never was one who uh, believed in saying, "Well, Marx said," and I always used to think to myself, "Well, who the hell cares what Marx said? I want to know how he reasoned his argument." It's just totally irrelevant what a person says. The only relevant thing is how they reason through to reach their conclusion. The conclusion only has any merit so long as you understand the argument that produced the conclusion. And so I've always been one who struggled with the reasoning, the argument. That's important to me to understand. I have to admit, a lot of the time I don't understand the argument. It's very frustrating to me when I know that the argument can be understood. So if I'm reading Kant's Critique of Pure Reason or the famous first chapter of Marx's Capital, I know that a good mind can penetrate this, and it's very frustrating. It has been frustrating when I wasn't able to. And if I can't penetrate it, then I can't claim the argument as my own. I'll never say I quote unquote read it, because if I don't understand it, it's just as much as to say I didn't read it.
And that approach sounds very familiar to someone that we both know as Professor Noam Chomsky, who I know was an enormous influence on your career and indeed helped you throughout the Joan Peters affair. How did Noam Chomsky's work, give you this ability to critique and to forensically research?
Well, the best in Chomsky, the best in him is when he, so to speak, goes at an argument and takes it apart. And he has my favorite example is a little bit obscure, but if you look at his book, which he co-authored with Edward Herman, called Manufacturing Consent, there is an appendix to that book where he looks at a study on the Vietnam War that was produced by this organization called Freedom House, which we used to call back then House of Bondage. And Chomsky, he looks at an argument like facets of a diamond. He looks at one facet, demolishes the argument, and then he'll say, okay, but let's, for argument's sake, assume that this is true. Let's look at the other argument. And he goes at it from multiple angles, and by the end, there's just nothing left. It's just reduced to, it's just been shattered. And that's kind of how I like it. I like to go at an argument from multiple angles and show however way you look at it, whatever assumptions you make, this argument is just complete, total, unadulterated nonsense. And that I got from Chomsky. He can be quite, he could be, what's the word? I'm not going to say vicious.
Barbed, maybe.
What?
Barbed, maybe.
I prefer something like what I used to be accused of being monomaniacal. Joan Peters, the author to whom you referred of the hoax, she said I had an E-Day fix with her book. And it was like Captain Ahab and Moby Dick. But I like to go at an argument with the full mental force, with my full mental force, and see what comes of it. What's left at the end. And usually there's nothing left at the end, because most of the arguments which try to turn reality on its head, make something that's false true, they have to be nonsense. And then it becomes a kind of intellectual game. It's an intellectual puzzle, actually. How did somebody manage to construct this edifice of complete and total nonsense, and that it passed as being legitimate.